Good morning, everyone. Welcome. My name is Menachem Creditor. It's my honor to serve as scholar in residence and rabbi for UJA Federation of New York. We bring you Torah and music, blessing, and community every weekday. We've been doing so since March 18th, 2020. Today it is Wednesday, June 25th, 2025. It's a blessing, a privilege to be here together with you for all of these mornings for 5.5 years. It is broadcast 1331. Thanks, Penny. It's good to see all of you. Adrian and Susie, Tara, Craig and Lydia. Boker Tov, friends. Hi, Louise. Nice to see you. Hi, Kate. Jerry, today is your wife, your wife's birthday. It's also your in-laws' 64th wedding anniversary. Mazel tov on all of that. Barry and Jack, Jonathan and Debbie, Sunday and Barbara, Amy, it's good to see all of you. Hope that all of you are safe and well. Cynthia, nice to see you too. Hi, Emily. Deborah and Peter, Tsiona and Patricia and Corinne, Marilyn, good to see all of you. All right, let's take a breath while we say hello to a few more friends, and then we're going to sing a bracha and learn some Torah. But first, let's share an additional blessing because I could use some coffee. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol niyeh bidvaro. And because it's good product placement, this is my mug from Westchester Jewish Community Services, an amazing organization that UJ is proud to partner with, doing great work in the community. It's good to see all of you. Hi, Adele. All right. Hi, Linda. Let's take a breath, sing a bracha, learn some Torah. לעסוק בדברי תורה, לעסוק בדברי תורה, הפוך בה והפוך בה, לעסוק בדברי תורה. So good morning, everyone. It's good to see all of you. It is broadcast 1331. It is day 627 since October 7th. There is, of course, so much going on. I wanted to share a bunch of scattered thoughts today. I'm not sure that there's one theme that's going to connect all of it. But I'll begin with a loose connection to the Parsha. It's Parshat Korach. And in the story of Korach, which you're probably familiar with, we've spoken about it a number of times, and it's one of those stories that you hear about, especially when you're hungry for some narrative stuff in Torah. We hear about the rebellion that Korach, who's a cousin of Miriam, Aaron, and Moses, leads a popular revolt that ends up with the death of 250 rebels. Because they're not only proven wrong, but the earth swallows them up. Very complicated and comic book-like story. The day after that, we talked about this earlier this week, there is another plague because the people lose hope. There's a despair that becomes very contagious, and they start complaining to Moses in a terrible way, not only a lack of gratitude, but a way that causes distress and death in the community. And the numbers there are significant too. And it led me to wonder, because we might be in a moment where we get to do this wondering again. Not completely, but it has been said in the last day or two that what Israel needed most of all after October 7th was to be able to restore its deterrent capacity. And I don't want to speak only about military things, but given that 7 young men, Chayalim, lost their lives in Gaza yesterday, that's what's on my mind. The deterrent capacity that Israel needs has been demonstrated by ending Hezbollah's reign of terror, dismantling Syria's reign of terror, responding to the Houthis, responding to Iran directly, that was behind all of this, and at least demolishing half of Hamas, if not more. I don't really know how to talk about such things. I have no military expertise, but there are voices that I rely upon who do diligent journalistic work. And I wonder if things might be different. There are still 50 hostages held by Hamas. 28 of them we know are no longer living. We have to put all of our efforts into bringing them home. And I wonder if something changed with all of this being true. And I don't know if it's a proper connection, but I raise it as something worth thinking about. What happened the day after the plague in our Parsha? After the rebellion with Korach, with incredible supernatural intervention, the rebellion was put down. And then a more human kind of intervention, a more human kind of rebellion happens. And then that ends. And Aaron stands in the breach. Again, in the Midrash we shared earlier this week, wrestling the angel of death into submission. And I wonder. Not only do I wonder, I look to friends in Israel who are writing about a sense of whiplash right now. I'll just read, I shared some of Sarah Heitler Bamberger yesterday. Listen to this one little bit of writing that she offered this morning. I woke up after a restless night. I've become so accustomed to digital banshees that I startled awake every few hours in anticipation of their shriek. But miraculously, it was not sirens but the chirping birds outside my window that coaxed me out of bed. My first night of sleeping without fear of getting bombed into oblivion in a long time. Stretch. The euphoria of knowing my kids will head to school, shops and businesses will open again. I can get back to normal life. I savor coffee and the stillness of dawn as it nestles into the wadi, the valley, behind my Jerusalem abode. We're not out of the woods, friends. I don't mean to say anything like that. Not only is it premature, it's callous. It would be cruel to say such a thing. But I know that Jewish summer camps all over the United States were scrambling to figure out how to be themselves as camps without the ability to bring the Mishlachat, the Israeli staff that come in every year. A camp that I hold near and dear to my heart, Camp Ramah in Nyack, where I worked for many years, where my parents have worked, where my daughter is now a Rosh Edah, division head. They were trying to figure out how to do this, and how important it is for us to ask this question, because all of a sudden, the Mishlachat arrived in camp yesterday. Somehow, our beautiful sisters and brothers, young people from Israel, arrived to take their place as part of Jewish community here again. I don't know, friends. I wonder if what Rosa just wrote is true too. She wrote, "It has conditioned us." I couldn't sleep either. I had to remind myself that there would be no alerts. This is a kind of whiplash, friends. It is true. Sarah ends what she wrote. I read just part of it. Here's the end of it. Because here's the ugly truth of this fine summer morning. First, there are 400 kilograms of uranium somewhere in Iran, and that is making everyone, me included, very nervous. Of course it is. And second, with some truce or ceasefire or whatever is falling into place with Iran, there is still one front of this war that we have to resolve. All eyes are now on Gaza. So I say this with tears in my eyes for my friend, for our beloved friends who finally were able to arrive at camp. What a blessing it is to be in this moment. We had to work so hard, and we continually have to fight so hard just to get to this moment. And we are, I think Rosa's right, conditioned. There's a teaching that I've been sharing recently. It's from the Talmud. It's Masechet Brachot. There's a long story going into it, a story that notices that even after Jacob in Genesis, Yaakov, even after his name is changed to Yisrael, after wrestling with the angel, he wrestles the angel into submission, and his name is changed, and the angel says, "No longer shall your name be Jacob. Your name is now Yisrael, for you've wrestled with God and with men and have prevailed." But the very next verse in Genesis calls Jacob Jacob. It just said, "No longer shall your name be." So how is his name still Jacob? And they end with a parable. I'm skipping a lot of the material. It's worth looking into. It ends with a parable. There was a man who was on a journey, and he was attacked by a wolf. But he escaped the wolf and then told the story of having escaped the wolf. And then he was attacked by a tiger. And he told the story after he escaped the tiger of having escaped a tiger and a wolf. And then he was attacked by a snake. And he escaped the snake, but he forgot about the wolf and the tiger. And he only spoke about escaping the snake. And the parable ends with this sentence: "So too is it with Israel. Recent troubles make us forget our old ones." And there's some humor here, obviously. Some very sardonic humor. Eventually, we will sleep through the night, and we will tell the story of what we have been through. Eventually, we will hold all 50 of our beloveds. We will treat the 28 of them that require and deserve the dignity of a proper burial. We will treat them with love, with the kindness they've deserved. Our grief will be reborn as we bury them. Please God, 22 are alive, and we will love them, and we will help them heal. This work is going to be very heavy, but eventually this will be a story that we tell, and I know it doesn't sound like it. It doesn't feel like it. It's too impossible, all of these things being true at the same time. But maybe something has changed, friends. Angela, sending your son prayers for healing. Maybe something has changed as we've recovered some of our heart. Maybe the Mishlachat, the delegations from Israel going to our summer camps, not only will be the biggest gift the camp community will ever receive, but also a gift to the Mishlachat to be in this beautiful, loving Jewish space that we create as the Jewish camping movements here in the United States. 19 years ago today was a very intense day. You might know. 19 years ago today, a young man named Gilad Shalit was kidnapped and taken hostage by Hamas. He was held captive for 5 years. The price of his freedom was incalculable, and we'll deal with that another time in conversation. I remember every week, every Shabbat, saying a prayer for the release of Gilad Shalit. And my community, I was a rabbi in Berkeley at the time, my community heard this prayer, and I would talk about Gilad every Shabbat. And some members of the community said to me, Rabbi, when will you stop saying this prayer? It was 5 years every Shabbat. I said, when he's home, I'll stop saying this prayer. And he did come home. And he did get married. And I don't know what his life is like now. But isn't that good? It changed. It wasn't the big global thing that we are still in and have been going through for 627 days. But it changed. And it's part of our story. Because after all, that's the rabbi's response to why Jacob's name remains Jacob even after it's changed to Israel. They said he never stopped being Jacob, but the primary name was Yisrael. The primary name was Yisrael. Tucked in there is Jacob. I know no matter how many years go by, friends, these last 627 days, especially that wretched 7th of October, it will be in my consciousness. It is embedded in my identity as a human being and as a Jew. I'm different now. We probably all are. But it is also a blessing to continue living and to incorporate it into our identity and not let it be the only thing we see. Visions from different Jewish camps yesterday of all of the staff waving Israeli flags while welcoming our Israeli Mishlachat, the delegation from Israel, off the buses, into their arms, into the community. Beautiful music playing, the sun shining on them. And yes, my friend Sarah and others getting to sleep through the night. As Rosa said, you're on a roll, my friend. We are who we were, plus our recent experiences. May our more recent experiences and may our upcoming experiences give us a strength, a vibrant story in which we include everything that we have been and are still going through. When we say Am Yisrael Chai, it is not only defiance, it is also celebration. And our souls need that again. Our souls need that again. We deserve that again. Our children deserve that again. Think about the children going to these summer camps, just for a moment. They've been going through this too. And in their young lives, these last 627 days are a greater percentage than it is of mine. And they deserve joy. The Jewish story is not only joyful, but there is so much joy. There is power and beauty and imagination and humor. Am Yisrael Chai is a celebration. We make good food, we make good music, we make beautiful children. And I know not everything is changed and not everything is okay. And whiplash is hard to endure because all this grief and sadness that of course we've poured out but also have been storing, and all of our longing for our beloveds to finally all be home. It's all real. We don't dismiss any of it. The day after the plague in Parshat Korach, which was 2 days after the earth swallowed up Korach, you want to talk about shell shock, whiplash? How do we tell our story when we've been through something like that? And name one moment after another in our history that we never imagined we would emerge from. They were the totality of our whole experience. One day, Karen, I'm going to quote you, and you're quoting Lin-Manuel Miranda. And when our children tell their story, tell our story. When this story of today is told, friends, will you make sure to include the beauty of eloquent authors pouring out their souls, the poetry that we have created since October 7th, the solidarity that we have shown, the rekindled connection between American and Israeli Jewish communities? Will you show the resilience of our spirit, that we learn Torah every single day, that we prayed with more devotion, that Jewish college students had a rebirth of their own identity in the midst of hardship. That we kept going and prayed and brought back so many of our beloveds and are fighting for the rest of them. Will you show the pictures of the beautiful young men? I want to look at them as I talk to you. 7 Israeli soldiers, young men. Their names were Lieutenant Matan Shai Yashinovsky, Staff Sergeant Ronel Ben Moshe, Sergeant Ronen Shapiro, Sergeant Mayan Baruch Perlstein, Staff Sergeant Niv Radia, Sergeant Shachar Manoav, and Staff Sergeant Alon Davidov. They were so beautiful. They were so beautiful. And now we have to be beautiful for them. We have to bring joy into our lives equal to the quotient that they would have had. We have to bring that to our children. We have to bring that back into our hearts. We have to. And we get to. We are stronger than we've ever known. We've been through things we could never have imagined. And we owe it to our future, to descendants and students to come, to build up our capacity for joy again, to believe that things can change for the better. Sometimes that comes along with forgetting some of the intensity of the pain, the sharpness of it. It is often said, and I have no idea if it's true, that the physical pain of childbirth is not possible to remember for a woman who has given birth. And if it were, they probably wouldn't do it again. And so in that way, even if it's not true, I'm going to derive a lesson from what might be a false anecdote. It's important to acknowledge and to remember pain, but we don't continue to feel it in its sharpness, not if we want to live. And I bless us to build our capacity for joy again. There is work to do, and we are not out of the woods. But I bless us to keep doing the work and to know that we get to tell the story. Our story is bigger than these very big 627 days. And with the events of the last week, with fighting back successfully, we regain our footing in the world, friends. So the question is, what will we do with that? Let's do great good with that. Let's dance. Let's sing. Let's eat good food and love each other well. Let's do righteous things in the world. Let's teach our children what it is to live life with eyes wide open. What a gift it is to be alive. Am Yisrael Chai. Send your hearts to the east and sing with me. Kol hod balevav pnima nefesh Yehudi homia ulefatei mizrach kadima ayin letzion Sophia. O lo avda tikvateinu, hatikva bat shnot alpayim, liot am chofshi be'artzeinu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim, liot am chofshi be'artzeinu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim. Bring them home now. Am Yisrael Chai. See you tomorrow.